I'm going to get myself out of tutorial hell. That's right, I'm finally going to take action and get myself out of tutorial hell. And you are probably thinking right now, but Ultra, how are you going to do it? That's a great question, my amazing viewer. It's pretty simple actually, I just won't use tutorials. I'm going to do what our great ancestors of coding used to do. Use the engine's documentations. And it sounds crazy, but back in the day, coders had to read documents and search for their answers. So let me break it down for you real quick. A coder is a problem solver. Every day, a coder runs into a problem. For example, my problem could be that I have a character and I want them to do a dash with a press of a button when they jump, but I don't know where to start. Best practice is to search up your problem in Google. Then from the Google search, you could get a keyword like input action or is an error. You take what you find and break it down to even smaller parts and try to break the problems down to its simplest form. With that, you can then Google how to create input actions or how to use is and error functions in C++. It's going to hurt your brain a lot and it definitely won't be easy, but it builds the problem solving muscles needed to be able to break out of the chains that tutorial hell has on so many people. With this formula, theoretically, you could build anything you like without a tutorial. With all that said, I was ready to start my first project. It's going to be a remake of Peak, but better. And what name could possibly top the name Peak? It's literally Peak. Well, I present to you
Peaker.
This project will be based off of Peak, which is a co-op climbing game where players play as a lost nature scout and have to scale a mysterious mountain after a plane crash. So I got right to work. The first thing I needed to do was get a first-person view of a character, so I started up the project and created a first-person template project. I gave it my fabulous name and hopped right in. Then I created my level and I opened the first-person blueprint for the first time, and let's just say I didn't like what I saw. I don't like that. What is this? That is nasty. Hold on. So I scrapped it and I imported the third person template into the project. Problem was, I was no longer in first person, so I ran into my first problem. Remember everything I just told you for how to get out of tutorial hell? Well, forget everything I just said because apparently day one me gave in 2 seconds and immediately went to a YouTube tutorial to figure out how to have the camera follow the player's movement. So after about 30 minutes and completely cheating and not doing what I was supposed to do, I was finally able to get the camera to work as a first-person camera. So after getting the camera to work, the next step was to know if my character was close enough to a wall to be able to climb. This part I didn't cheat surprisingly. I googled the problem and found out about line tracing. So I created the component that would store the data for the line trace. And after creating the component, I confidently made an actor class for climbable walls. However, after making the class and trying to run the build from Visual Studio, I kept getting errors. I took the error to ChatGPT and I still couldn't figure it out. In the end, I ended up having to scrap the project because I couldn't open the project anymore, and I decided to restart. Day 2 came around and I was ready to start fresh again. I quickly built my level, I set up the camera to be first person in the third person template. I recreated my actor class and component class. I still had the same issue with the actor class, and after looking into it for about 30 minutes, I finally found out what caused my problem. I had created a separate folder called walls, and since it was in the folder in the include statement, it wasn't being recognized. I deleted the folder from the include statement and it worked. Yes, this simple action was the problem. After sorting that out, I started to work on the line trace, and after an hour of no progress, I started to question if line trace was too challenging for me at the moment. So I swapped over to a box collision method instead to create an overlap event. Spoiler warning. It made no difference. I worked on the box collision and I was able to make the box collision, but after testing the box collision, I was not getting any response. I sat there for about another hour trying to figure out why I wasn't getting any response even though I knew it was overlapping the actor. I ended up running out of time and had to call it a night. So day 2, we got a bit further than day 1, but not much. 2 days later on day 4, I came back and I was ready to actually make some progress. I reflected on the first 2 days and I felt like I was too reliant on YouTube videos, and that's when I decided to create the workflow. And I also impulsively decided to delete the project again. So my plan of action going forward has 5 simple steps. Step 1, try to build it on your own. If that's not possible, then go to step 2. Step 2, search up what you are trying to do. Step 3, use the Unreal Engine documentation and Unreal Engine C++ API. Step 4, use ChatGPT if struggling. And lastly, step 5, if it's really unsolvable and I can't find the answer on my own, then I'll use a tutorial. But I won't copy their code. I'll use it as a guide and then build it on my own. So again, I recreated the map and recreated the line trace component in actor class, but this time I didn't use a single YouTube video to help me out. While I was looking for the solution, I ended up switching from the box collision to a sweep single by channel. After 30 minutes of looking at the API documents and asking ChatGPT for a little assistance, I was finally able to detect walls. This boosted my confidence a ton and I was ready to hop into the next step, playing an animation while holding down a button. I quickly made the input action and binded it to an action mapping. All I needed was to import an animation from Mixamo and create the animations for my character. That's pretty easy, right? Right? Well, let's just say that in the process of importing and trying to retarget the animation, my character's bones somehow changed. And because of that, the template character no longer animated when running, and I could not find the solution. I had to restart the project once again. Day 5 started, and luckily I had already solved the problem for wall detecting. I simply had to create a new project and import all my code from my previous project to the new project. I decided to hold off on animation for now because of what happened last time. Instead, I started to work on states and trying to get my character switched between 2 different states. I spent about 45 minutes trying my best to use the Google and Unreal documentation, but eventually I had to give in and use ChatGPT for some assistance. Even with ChatGPT, I still couldn't get the states to work, and when I was looking for an answer, I somehow concluded that it had to have been because of the character's movement logic being in blueprints, and I was trying to change states in C++. Seriously, if you know anything on states, please help me. I decided to take a break, and after a good night's rest, it all clicked in my head. I got to my computer and continued to make the game, and after 1 week I did it. I made the full game from scratch. I even released it on Steam. In the first 10 minutes I had gotten over 100k wishlists, and it outsold all AAA games on the current market. I was able to afford my dream home, and I even bought myself a unicorn named Wilbert. Wilbert told me to hop on, and we flew away in the sunset. Wait, something seems off about what I just said. I can't make a game from scratch. Huh? Oh, wait, it was just a dream. Yeah, none of that happened. Instead, I restarted the project. Again. Yes, I restarted my project again for the 4th time. Anyway, I did everything again and got back to speed with where I left off. I used the documentation as well as ChatGPT to get the enhanced movement working, and after 2 hours I was done. Unfortunately, that's really about it. I ran out of time for this video and all I had to show for was this. But I guess that's why my channel exists, is to show the truth and frustration of coding and game development. It won't be easy at first, but hopefully over time as I force myself to code more and rely less on tutorials, I'll soon be able to make games without needing to watch a tutorial for everything. Lastly, I just want to say thank you to everyone that supported my last video. I really appreciated all the positive comments. I seriously would have never thought that my first video would have done as good as it did. I hope I can keep providing entertaining content for you guys and reassure you that everyone starts somewhere in their game dev journey. But as long as you stick to it, you can reach any goal you set for yourself. Once again, thank you, and I'll see you guys in the next video.